we are looking at 2010, and we're trying to maximize our wins in 2010. And then obviously the redistricting will come later, and we'll work very hard to hold on to all the seats that we won. That's not to say there's not an effort going on nationally focused at gubernatorial races and state legislative races. That is just outside the immediate purview of the DCCC.
But do you worry about wasting resources on a seat in Virginia that may be redrawn significantly that could be spent on winning a seat somewhere else?
I think it's impossible to sort of game out ahead of time how districts are going to be drawn and just tell a member of Congress or a candidate, you know, because it might be redrawn this way, we're not going to compete to win in a seat we can win with the current district. We're focused on the current lines.
Congressman, I wanted to ask you about a Democratic survey that was taken of battleground districts in October. And the group Democracy Corps is very good at gaming out where these competitive districts are going to be. And the survey found that in 40 of the most vulnerable Democratic districts, many of those members are in the DCCC's Frontline program to protect freshmen and sophomore incumbents, that in those districts, only 40% of voters said that they would or were leaning towards re-electing their member, while 45% said that it was time for someone new. And majorities in these districts said that these members were too liberal for the district and spending too much. Is that inevitable? Is that just a byproduct of having won so many seats in 2006 and 2008? Or is there something that needs to be done to rehabilitate these members' images across these districts?
Right. Well, first, I think it's way too early to predict, based on current polling information, what the exact state of the voter's mind is going to be in 2010. But I do think it means that members from those districts need to make sure that when they're casting their votes here in Washington, D.C., in the United States Congress, that they are reflecting the views of their constituents. And we've always asked members to do what they do on their own, which is to listen to their constituents, make your best decision and best judgment based on your conscience, your community, and your country. And that's what they're going to be doing. And that's why a lot of these members won elections in these districts. Look, sometimes they're going to agree with the position of President Obama and the majority in the House. Sometimes they will disagree. And their voters appreciate the fact that they are independent-minded members of Congress. The good news is most of the issues we've confronted so far are issues that bring us together, getting the economy going again, making sure that we do have a health care system that keeps what's best but fixes what's broken. These are issues that at least bring a majority of the caucus together. But there's no doubt, I mean, there are going to be issues where we're not as united, and those are going to be cases where, you know, a member of Congress will say to his or her constituents, look, I agree with the president here, I may disagree over here.
But to pick up on David's point, as you well know, the size of government, a big issue in Virginia and in New Jersey. It will be an issue in 2010. The unemployment report on Friday, 10.2%, likely to be an issue again in the midterm elections, regardless of where it is. It's going to be 9, 10 percentage points. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with those issues and the sentiment that taxes are too high in this country?
Right. Well, there's no doubt that the state of the economy will be the driving issue in 2010. It's only natural. People will look around them and look at their own circumstances, look to see how the country's going and say, you know, we're heading in the right direction or we're not heading in the right direction. That's why the very first order of business of the new Congress was to pass an economic recovery plan. And we remember, and I think voters will remember, I think they know that when the president was sworn in, the economy was literally in free fall. It was in collapse. And that economic recovery plan helped stabilize things. Things are not nearly back to where we would like them, especially with respect to unemployment. And during the next year, we're going to be focused like a laser beam on jobs, jobs, jobs in the economy, moving it forward. We just passed a continuation of unemployment compensation, recognizing there are lots of people out there who are hurting through no fault of their own. And we are going to look at infrastructure investments and other efforts going forward. But I think the question voters will have is, was my member of Congress on my side during this very difficult economic time? And to a person in the House of Representatives, the Republicans voted against the economic recovery plan. In all 3 of the special elections that we've had to date since that decision, in California and 2 in New York, the Democratic candidates have supported the economic recovery plan and getting the economy going again, and the Republicans have been against it, and our candidates have won.
Jonathan Allen.
Congressman, if I could ask you something a little bit personal. My parents are constituents of yours, and they look at your future, and they want to know, I think, whether they're going to be asked to support you as you move up in the House leadership, or if they may someday be asked to support you in a Senate campaign. So which of those 2 things do you foresee in your future?
I've got plenty on my hands right now. I mean, we've got our hands full in doing the job that I've got right now, both as the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, as assistant to the Speaker, and of course as the representative from the 8th Congressional District. I have not had time to think ahead in that respect. I think that we're going to try and do our best as the representative from the 8th District and working on the issues that the people care about, and then, you know, think about the future at some other point. I mean, we just got our hands full.
There's obviously a lot of energy on the right these days, but your campaign committee has also taken some heat from the left, from bloggers, from folks online, and others who may be concerned that the party is giving away too much in crafting these deals on major issues. And in particular, I want to ask a question that one of those folks on the left might ask, which is Parker Griffith, a newly elected Democrat from northern Alabama, had said at one point back home in his district that he thinks that the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, is too divisive, and that he's not sure if he would vote for her again as Speaker if he's reelected. What value to your caucus is a Democrat who can't support any major agenda item in a vote and can't commit to supporting Speaker Pelosi?
Well, first of all, as you know, if you had a Republican there, you'd be 100% sure they would not have voted for Speaker in the last election for the Speaker, and you'd be 100% sure that in addition to not supporting the Democratic majority in leadership going forward, they would also vote against the agenda on every issue, from economic recovery to health care. 100% no. Again, every Republican voted no on the economic recovery plan. Look, Parker Griffith has to stay in touch with his constituents, and sometimes he will agree with the president and the majority position in the Congress, and sometimes he will disagree, and he'll have to leave it to the voters to be the best judge. But again, what I would tell my colleagues about that case or any other case was, if you had a Republican there, imagine how they would vote, what they would say, and the fact of the matter is, yes, we have a large tent party, but without a large tent party, we would not be able to make progress on the important issues that we are making progress on. Doesn't mean that we get every member of the caucus on every vote, but it does mean we have the ability to put together what are often shifting coalitions to get things done.
Presumably a significant percentage of the people who are watching us today are Democrats around the country. I wonder what your thoughts are for them heading into 2010, particularly in light of what you saw in the 2009 election. You talked about some of the portions of your coalition not showing up. What do Democrats across the country that want to see a successful 2010 election need to be doing right now to ensure that?
Well, I think that the House Democrats, the Senate Democrats, working with the president, and to the extent we can get Republican support, we always do welcome it, need to follow through on the agenda the president articulated in the last election and that many of our members of Congress articulated. But job number one is to get the economy moving again. Now, things have begun to stabilize. The thing that, of course, remains frustrating is the slow rate of improvement in the unemployment number. So we need to be focused on getting the economy back on track. Health care reform is an important component of that, both in the short term and the long term. There are some measures that are going to take place immediately in the short term. We're going to allow young people to stay on their parents' health insurance policies until they're age 27. We're going to eliminate the exemptions that insurance companies currently have from antitrust laws that allows them to, price rig in certain cases. So there are lots of things we're doing right now, but what we need to do is show success, whether it's on health care reform, on getting the economy moving again, and other major issues that are on the agenda. And I think that will not only make sure that those voters who came out for Obama in 2008 come out in 2010, but if we do it right, we will also continue to get support of independents in 2010 because they will see the Republicans for, unfortunately, what they've become, which is captive to the far right in this country. We saw that in New York 23, where the far right just put up a big sign to the Republican candidate, said, moderates do not apply. And just the other day, Michael Steele essentially said the same thing. And this is not a far-right country. And what we saw in New York 23 was in a seat that, Republicans had held for 150 years. People